In Ecuador, the mayor of the country's largest city calls for demonstrations despite the president's appeal for a national debate. Plus, a new war manual in the U.S. authorizes attacks against journalists.
Of where our country needs to go.
And Chile defeats Uruguay 1-0 and makes its way to the semifinals of the Copa America. Good morning, everyone. For Telesur, I'm Cody Weddle in for Ray Gomez. We start today in Ecuador. That's where, despite calls from President Rafael Correa for a national debate, the mayor of the country's largest city calls for more demonstrations. Jaime Nebot, the mayor of Guayaquil, is one of the main right-wing opposition leaders. Now, many say he represents the country's oligarchy. He's been the mayor of Ecuador's largest city for 15 years now with the Social Christian Party. He comes from a line of entrepreneurs, and his father was a minister under the dictatorship of Velasco Ibarra. Nebot has been encouraging the opposition to protest the measures using social media, television commercials, and bus advertisements. It all comes in opposition to a new inheritance tax and capital gains law first introduced 3 weeks ago. Let me move to Chile. That's where teachers decide to continue the strike they've been holding for 2 weeks. New marches are planned for today. Following meetings with teachers' union representatives, the government did agree to incorporate some of the disputed points into the legislation. The new bill, however, does not modify the salary scale based on seniority and maintains the controversial teacher evaluation exam. In Argentina now, members of Argentina's tax agency and the Congress travel to France to hold meetings with former employees of several international banks. Now, it comes as part of the government's investigation into the HSBC Bank for alleged economic felonies. Our correspondent Loriano Ponce reports from Buenos Aires.
In a 3-day trip to France, the head of Argentina's Federal Tax Agency and Parliamentary Commission, which investigates the HSBC Bank for alleged economic crimes, held 2 meetings with former HSBC employee and whistleblower Hervé Falciani in order to gather more information about the bank's usual maneuvers regarding capital flight, tax evasion, and money laundering.
The Commission gathered the necessary information to see how we need to change the regulation of the financial system in Argentina so there will be no more tax evasion, massive tax evasion, cases like the one the HSBC carried out.
Whistleblowers revealed that all major international banks have special departments dedicated to offer private banking services for rich customers, a euphemism that means sending undeclared money out of the country.
When we talk about laundering, what we're saying is that it is money which origin is unknown, and that by this means, it is taken to tax havens or these big banking trusts, which have branches in many places where the lack of transparency, the opacity as they call it, is notorious.
The Argentine delegation also held meetings with Stephanie Gibault, a former employee of the Swiss Banks Union, UBS, and with a similar parliamentary commission of the French Congress.
The same day he met with the Argentine Parliamentary Commission, Falciani did the same before the French Parliament, which is investigating the same thing. It is investigating tax evasion and capital flight by French individuals and companies, which have used this same mechanism to take their money to Switzerland or to other tax havens.
After the information gathered in these meetings, the legislators of the investigative commission seek to bring all major international banks involved in these maneuvers to justice, and also to start a thorough discussion in the parliament about the need of new financial regulations in order to protect the Argentine economy. Loriano Ponce, Telesur, Buenos Aires.
Brazilian federal police are investigating foreign companies that may have been bribing state-owned oil company Petrobras. Now, these companies were outside of the suspected cartel of local engineering firms already investigated. Federal agents say it is clear that in order to win contracts, foreign firms paid bribes to Petrobras or Petrobras executives. Police are seemingly building their toughest case against the Brazilian industrial conglomerate whose executives have been jailed. According to the investigation, state-run electric utility Eletrobras was also involved. Defense lawyers have criticized the investigation and especially the federal judge responsible, Sergio Moro, for leaving the executives locked up for lengthy periods pre-trial. Greek Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras is meeting again with his country's international creditors. It follows the creditors' rejection of his proposals on Wednesday.
Tsipras' last offer included a tax increase for high-income earners, changes to Greece's sales tax, and a departure from what the Greek government considered a non-negotiable items, such as pensions. In spite of everything, the IMF is demanding even deeper cuts. Lenders presented a 5-page counter-proposal to the Greek 11-page proposal, a Greek official claiming it differed a little from their initial June 3rd offer. These differences come from pensions, taxation, labor law, public sector wages, the opening of closed professions and investment. Greece has to prepay 1.6 billion euros to the International Monetary Fund next Tuesday. Spaniards and Italians are confident conversations will end with an agreement.
This is clearly harmful. Obviously it can be resolved. They will force us to make sacrifices, increase taxes, they'll cut pensions and hit the poor people who cannot defend themselves. But we will survive, even if badly.
Journalists will be legitimate targets for U.S. soldiers following a new war manual released by the Department of Defense earlier this month. According to it, press members described as, quote, unprivileged belligerents, quote, will be treated as non-civilians, which experts conclude give the green light for soldiers to kill journalists. The controversial passage goes, in general, journalists are civilians. However, journalists may be members of the armed forces, persons authorized to accompany the armed forces, or unprivileged belligerents. And Boston Marathon bomber Zohar Tsarnaev has been formally sentenced to death. He and his brother Tamerlan killed 3 people and injured hundreds on April 15 of 2013 when they planted 2 pressure cooker bombs near the finish line of the marathon. The brothers were tracked down 4 days later by authorities. Tamerlan was gunned down and Tsarnaev arrested. Palestinian leaders are submitting their first file to the International Criminal Court in their bid to open criminal proceedings against Israel. Prominent peace activist Mustafa Barghouti, head of the Palestine National Initiative, say they have solid evidence Israel has committed widespread human rights abuses, not only in Gaza with the ongoing invasions, but also in the West Bank. Barghouti added that Palestine's goal is to remove immunity from Israel and its leaders, achieve justice, apply human rights conventions, protect Palestinians, and hold criminals accountable for their crimes. And following Palestine's bid, Israel has announced it's revoking permits for 500 Palestinians from the Gaza Strip to enter Jerusalem ahead of Friday prayers. A spokeswoman for Kogat, the defense ministry unit which coordinates with Gaza, said the restrictions respond to rocket fire from the enclave. Israel had relaxed restriction of the movement of Palestinians to and from the West Bank and Gaza Strip ahead of Ramadan. Latinos love Donald Trump. At least, that's what the Republican candidate has said after his diatribe against Mexican got him irate reactions. His reasoning is that he creates jobs and employs so many Latinos. It seems that his opinion on Mexicans has changed since he has praised them now through a statement where he also criticized media for distorting his words. And the smartphone's app Uber continues causing stir now in France. There, taxi drivers have obstructed access to Paris airports and train stations and have blocked traffic on the city's main highway. The peripheric vehicles purportedly using Uber have been also overturned.
Chile to the Copa America now. The Chilean hosts beat Uruguay 1-0. They now secure their spot in the semifinals. Striker Mauricio Isla scored the winning goal just 16 minutes before the final whistle. Uruguayan star Edinson Cavani left with a red card, his second card. Now, there had been doubts, as we told you yesterday, over whether Cavani would even play after his dad was involved in a car accident. And Chileans went to celebrate their national team's victory in the center of Santiago. The celebration that started peacefully actually ended in violence when police began to deploy water cannons to disperse those who remained in the area. Several fans were arrested. That's what we're covering this morning from Caracas. We have plenty more on those stories and others at our website, telesurtv.net/English. For Telesur English, I'm Cody Weddle. Have a great day.